I think if you have the energy and you're young enough to get into a property and you're not scared of getting your hands dirty and you can do some sweat equity and do some light modifications and renovations to your home, that's where it's at. People that are getting these flipped turnkey houses you're still buying a house and you're still a good investment. But when you can do that yourself and not pay for somebody else to have done that, I think you're going to be in a much better situation.
All right, guys, welcome to another episode of The Report. Today, we are in the studio here in downtown San Diego. We got some sunshine outside, but I'm very excited because I got a special guest. I got someone who I first connected with through the Fast Lane community. I got someone who's in the real estate space from Chicago, crushing the game, doing big stuff in the residential real estate space down here in San Diego. And actually, nationally, I got my man, good friend of mine, Mark Quesada. Mark, welcome to the show, brother.
What's up, man? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, dude. Appreciate you coming on, man. And I think you might be like the first close friend of mine to come on the podcast.
No way, really?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. But dude, freaking awesome to have you on, and glad you're feeling better. And we just had your 40th birthday party up in Del Mar Steak 48.
Yeah, what'd you think?
It was a good time. I got to go back and try something else. I ordered something that was off the menu.
Yeah,
and
butcher's cut.
It came out a little bit like undercooked.
It looked pretty raw to me.
Yeah,
I didn't want to say anything, but that was red.
It was purple. The lighting was kind of dark in there, so I can't really tell, But I definitely got to go back and maybe do I usually get a New York or a filet. That's like my go-to. So I'm born and raised probably 2 to 3 times a week, and I always do a filet or a New York. Mm-hmm. And so I'll go back to Steak 48 and maybe try one of those. So
yeah, the bone and filet is my jam for sure. That's my go-to.
Okay.
Yeah, the one you got is a little too fatty for me. Great flavor, but it's just not so easy to cut, not as tender, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I do like the New York because it's a little bit leaner, but if they cook it the right way, it's so good. So I'll go back and give it another fair shake, so we'll see.
I think that's something that me and you do the most of. Like, I spend the most time with you is just going out and eating, and usually steak.
Dude, I eat out like every meal.
Yeah,
I don't cook.
I've seen your kitchen.
Yeah, I don't cook. You've seen my fridge.
I've seen your fridge, man. There's nothing in it. Topo Chico. I think, did you have dose in there, maybe? The liver enzyme stuff? Or was that Preston, maybe?
That was Preston. Might have brought it over to my
place.
It's
usually just beverages. That's about it.
Yeah. That's all you need. I'll do Uber Eats at home. And we have a chef that comes in the office on Mondays now. Her name's Chef Fee. She'll cook me like 5 or 6 meals for the week. And so now when I'm here, I have some pretty healthy meals to eat throughout the week. But other than that, man, I'm out all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, as long as you're not catching yourself at Wendy's too often.
I value a woman, the woman I marry will ideally knows how to cook. If not, maybe she can learn how to cook. I don't know, cooking classes.
Or she can find different chefs for you.
Different chefs, yeah.
And she can manage that for you.
Yeah, but I do value a woman that can cook because I don't have that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just not the best use of my time.
No, it's a passion of mine, man. I mean, I worked in the hospitality industry for a really long time, in kitchens and as a server and as a bartender, and I've just always been way too passionate about food.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I mean, I got to be honest, the Uber Eats app, I mean, what a freaking game changer. Literally think about, 20 years ago, we didn't have this kind of technology, but to think that you just pull a device out of your pocket, you hit 2 or 3 buttons, and then food just shows up. And it's not just any food. You can literally select any kind of food you want, and it just shows up. That's pretty impressive.
It's crazy. I mean, and you live in Little Italy, so I mean, everything's super close by. The other day, Saturday, when we were out for my birthday, the Fast Lane boat event, we were on the boat back to the harbor, and in the amount of time that it took us to get from the boat to the harbor, we had already placed an order for food.
Yes.
So that it was at our house waiting when we got there.
I do that all the time.
Exactly, right?
Yeah, it's a hack when you go out.
It's the future, bro.
Yeah, it is the future. So, I don't know. I'm a big fan of it. I know a lot of people poo-poo the Uber Eats thing because they say it's not healthy, but
it's expensive too.
Yeah, there's service fees, but your time is just as expensive, if not more, right? And so, I don't know, for me, there is healthy options on Uber Eats. If you want to keep it somewhat clean, you can do that. But also if you want to pick up a burger and some fries and a shake, you can do that as well. Which boat were you on this weekend?
We were on, God, I don't remember the name of it, but it was massive. It was the bigger one. When you guys tied up to it.
There was a 96-foot
Is that how big it was? It was
left.
insane. It was,
Yeah.
I think there were 3 or 4 bedrooms downstairs. There was a couple bathrooms. The master was beautiful. And then there was, I think, 3 floors above it. but everything on it seemed to be pretty updated and modern. It was like a really nice contemporary boat. And then next to that one, I think was Sanders' boat.
I believe it was Jalen's boat in the middle, and then it was Sanders to the right of that. And then
you.
I pulled up my boat on the far
And
right.
I think I mentioned it to you. Your boat's big. You've got a nice boat.
Thank you.
And
it feels small next to those
that's
boats.
what I was going to say.
Yeah,
I mean, honestly, I didn't even see your boat. Like, it was down there, you know, and you've got what is your boat, 40?
It's 36. It's a 36, but the length overall is actually almost 41.
With the swim platform or whatever?
The swim platform and the bow and all that. It's about 41, but they call it a 36.
Sure. I mean, we've had a good amount of people on your boat.
Mm-hmm. I know.
A lot of people.
Too many.
Yeah, too many.
Don't tell the Coast Guard.
Yeah, my lips are sealed. But
yeah,
seeing it next to those big boys it's crazy.
Yeah, we went out for Chasen's birthday. That was like 3 weekends ago on the water. And I think there was a mix-up with one of the boats that was going to do the side tie. And they didn't allow any people on their boat, really. And so then everyone had nowhere to go.
It was totally unexpected.
Everyone came over to my
boat.
What,
8 people on your boat?
Came 8 people on my boat, and I think at one time there
30
was
maybe.
There was more than that. I think at one point I don't think I'm gonna say what I thought it was, but it worked out. You know what? It is what it is, and now I know the potential.
It was a good time. For sure.
Yeah, it is. It is a good time. So the boat's a cool thing, man. I've been having a lot of fun going out to Catalina. I'm going out there this weekend for Labor Day weekend.
Yeah, we all call you Captain Summers now, man. We barely see you on land.
Yeah, it's fun. I'm addicted to the game, bro. I'm addicted to it. I love being on the water, and it's like my new thing. So excited for it. And I got Starlink now, so I get high speed Wi-Fi literally from anywhere in the water. Yeah, anywhere in the ocean. I could be in the middle of the Pacific, and I would get Starlink, like high speed Wi-Fi. And I've done like mastermind calls there, and it's better Wi-Fi than we have here in the office.
Get out of here! So you could just like watch Game of Thrones from the middle of the ocean if you wanted to.
Yeah, totally.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's cool. You have to come out sometime on the out to Catalina. It's a good time out there.
Do you feel like you're still satisfied with your boat, or is it like, do you already feel like the urge to get something bigger and better? Is it like?
I'm 100% satisfied, and I'm very grateful. I will always be grateful, but I'm at the same token when I go to Catalina and I hang out on these 70, 80, 90 foot yachts and meet these other yacht owners, I'm inspired by the level of which they're playing ball at, right? And when I'm on their yachts, I'm like, okay, like I see that, and I'm like, I will have that one day, right? And so, yes, I'm very inspired, and I want the next thing, and that's what keeps me hungry, and that's what keeps me driving and pushing the ball down the field. So I think it's very important. And this is the first boat, but there will be more boats.
Right, and that's probably their 4th, 5th, 6th boat.
Exactly.
Progressed onto
and
that.
That's what the broker said. The yacht broker said to me like day one. He's like, hey, like a lot of these folks, like they don't know how much they're going to use it, and if it's for you. You will trade in, and you will always trade up for bigger and bigger. That's just how the game works. And so I said, cool. Well, let me see how much I use it. And so far this summer, I've used it. I feel like I've been on the boat almost every day.
No, dude, the fire has not died with you at all.
I mean, I'm going back to Catalina tomorrow for like 5 nights.
Okay.
And it's Labor Day weekend, but it's also kind of like the end of the summer for me. When I come back, September 3rd or September 2nd, which is Labor Day. September 3rd is I'm back on the no drinking game, and I'm going to dial it. And, I think as important as it is to like enjoy it, which I did, because before I got the boat, I was like I was in grind mode for like 90 days. And so now enjoy.
How long were you doing it for?
I didn't drink for 76 days.
76.
And I was just grinding.
Yeah.
And I did a lot of things that changed my life. I reinvented myself in many ways, and I saw the most growth that I'd ever seen. And then the summer hit. It was like 4th of July. I had just got the boat, and I was like, you know what? I'm ready to be back in the game for a little bit, enjoy some drinks, have fun. And so it's been fun, and I think it's important to do that. However, I think it's been killing me because I know I'm not operating my full potential. And so I'm like dying to get back and like really get on the grind again. I'm anxious when I'm not as productive as I know I can be, right? And so
you beat yourself up?
I don't beat myself up, but I'm just like, I know I could be better. And so I'm excited to get back in it. And so I don't know how long I'll do this time, but I'm going to do it at least 60 days. I might do closer to 100. I'm going to at least go from September 3rd to like Thanksgiving.
So other than like your production levels going up, did you feel lighter on your toes? Did you have more energy? Did you feel like just cleaner and able to like process things better?
Oh, dude, everything. I mean, like my memory got better. I became a better speaker. The content on social media became better. I think the quality of this podcast was better. I became a better leader. My relationships were better. My business was better. Like I made more money. Fitness was better. I was in the gym. I was very dialed. The energy level was better. Like there was not one thing that you could pull out of that whole 76 days and say, hey, this was a negative. There was not one thing. And I think one thing that I didn't realize is, well, two things. One, I always thought I had FOMO if I didn't drink. Like I wouldn't be able to go out and enjoy myself and be around like all this stuff. But I was able to do that. And I was never like pulled into like the drinking game. I was never like, oh my God, I gotta have a drink, or this is very hard. It was actually really easy. And yeah, I got to give credit to all the people around me. No, not one person like threw a drink in my face and said,
I
"Oh,
sat
come
next
on."
to you at a number of these tables.
Yeah, not one person said, "Hey, Rich, like fucking have a drink." Because I know other people that try to go no drinking, and they're like, "Oh my God, it's so hard," because all my friends are like throwing drinks in my face, calling me whatever. I'm like, not one person in those 76 days did that. But and I think that's a testament to the quality of people in my circle. But two, I had so much free time, bro.
Yeah.
Like my production tripled, maybe even 5x, and then I still had free time. I was like, whoa, like I had more free time than I know what to do with. And so I think it's the biggest life hack that no one talks about. And I think I realized like all these top performers that are, operating in the top 1%, most of them either don't drink or they go through multiple phases throughout the year to where they cut out alcohol for 2 or 3 months at a time. And they do that, 2 or 3 times a year.
I'm not a really big drinker.
No?
I mean, do you see me really getting drunk ever?
You always cut out at a decent hour.
Yeah, I value my sleep.
I notice around like 11:30,
yeah,
you typically cut out.
I do. And I'm usually, if I'm drinking, I'll have like a cocktail with dinner, a glass of wine, or if I'm celebrating, maybe a glass of champagne. But I'm not really unless we're out in Vegas with the guys doing something, or, I'm not the kind of guy who's like, let me get 7 back-to-back tequila sodas and get wild. Like, that's just not me usually.
How many drinks do you average per week?
Per week? I'd say I probably have 4 drinks per month.
Okay.
Yeah. Unless there's an event like your birthday or my birthday, or we're out on the boat. Like, I think when we were out on the boat last time, I think I had maybe 4 or 5 beers.
Okay.
Which was a lot for that day.
You like beer?
It depends how I'm feeling. Like a nice, light, refreshing beer on a hot day, for sure. Yeah. I'll stick with that, or like a seltzer or something. The cocktails and the booze is what gets me. You have like 3 or 4 drinks, and all of a sudden you're saying stuff you wish you wouldn't. So, I try to watch myself with that.
Yeah, I used to like beer when I was younger, but I don't drink a whole lot of beer now. The one thing I will say is when I was sober, I would go out. I'd go out have dinner with folks and then go out to the next spot, and it would be fun, and I'd be sober. But around the time where everyone started like kind of repeating their stories and slurring their words a little bit, that's when I would kind of cut out, and then I would wake up the next morning feeling great, and I'd be like, Saturday morning, I feel great, I feel rested. Go hit the gym, go on a hike, go hit the farmer's market. And, these other folks that I went out with, they're like,
they're all struggling
they're in bed all day, right?
Yeah.
And so that was,
it's a waste of a day.
No, that's the difference. Yeah, because when you drink, it doesn't waste one day, it wastes 2 days when you go out and party, right? It's the whole day you're partying, and then it's the whole next day.
The recovery day.
So it's 2 days.
Yep.
Yeah. And even the next day you wake up after the recovery day, like you're not as sharp as you would have been had you not partied at all.
But
right?
again, there's always those times where you can make the exception and do that.
Yeah, you got to do it. You got to do
moderation.
You got to do it and have fun every now and then. I think it's important. And everyone's different, But also, I think I will appreciate. I'm sure I'll have a different perspective going into the no drinking for the second time, because I went from no drinking to drinking, and I was like, whoa, I don't know how I used to do this all the time.
Your tolerance was gone.
Yeah, and then well, and also the energy levels. I noticed a huge drop off. And I'm like, whoa, I don't know how I used to just like function like this all the time. It used to be normal to me. And I was, on average drinking 2-3 times a week, sometimes maybe 4. But now I'm like, I'm going to go back to it. So I'm sure I'm going to see it from a different perspective.
This is your second time.
This will be my second time. Okay. And I don't know how long I'll do it. Like I said, at least 60 days. Maybe I'll do 100. I don't know. So we'll see. But anyways, that said, bro. So I want to jump into your story, dude. You got an interesting story. You're from Chicago, and I know you come from humble beginnings. Tell me a little bit about the early Mark.
The early Mark. I was a troublemaker, man. I was an emo kid with eyeliner and nail polish, and I used to flat iron my hair across my face. I had, big gauged earrings, and my nose pierced, and my tongue pierced, and my eyebrow pierced, and I just looked like I belonged in a Good Charlotte music video or something, But obviously, I've cleaned up since then. I just had a kind of a rougher upbringing. I didn't really have a really good relationship with my mother. I loved her to death. She's gone now. But we just didn't really see eye to eye. I think, her and my father had a really rough relationship. They got married young, and I don't think they were ready for what they had embarked on. And I think when that fell apart, my mother saw a lot of my father in me. And there was a lot of, I don't know if you want to call it resentment or what, but so we just never saw eye to eye. And so she was always, we'd get into little bickering arguments, and she'd throw me out of the house, and then I'd have to go sleep on a friend's couch, or, and that would go on for a long time.
Why would she throw you out of the house?
Little things, something would remind her of my father, or, I wasn't by any means a bad kid. Like, I wasn't out using drugs. I wasn't ditching school. I wasn't doing anything that any teenager, doesn't do. I wasn't a horrible child by any means. But I don't know. For some reason, we just didn't see eye to eye. And so I grew up with her, at least maybe once a week, once every 2 weeks, throwing me out of the house. And I'd have to sleep on a buddy's couch, or I'd sleep in an uncle's couch or their spare room. I had a cousin who lived not too far from me, so I'd stay at in their guest room once in a while. But it got to the point of where, I was 16 and I went and bought my first car. I was working part-time at the mall and bought a Mitsubishi Eclipse, and that very quickly became like my safe haven. We'd get into an argument and she'd kick me out and wouldn't talk to me for months. And then I would stay in the car for a few months at a time, and I'd stay at a friend's house here and there. And I met a girl when I was probably about 17 years old, and I had been living in the car for maybe 6 months or so at this point. I had
and the Mitsubishi Eclipse, that's a 2-door coupe.
That's
not a big car, and
and I'm a big
you're
guy.
a tall dude.
Yeah, it wasn't comfortable, but it was a little bit of that, a little bit of sleeping on friends' floors, and just kind of like, who can take me tonight? It was embarrassing, and it was tough. It was a struggle, man. And I didn't have a ton of money. I remember going to Wendy's with like $3 and being like, what am I going to get off the dollar menu? Right. And like, that lasted all day. Right. I'd have like a 5 or 6 piece chicken nugget, a water, and a small fry. And I'd be like, I got it today. I did it today. Right. And then I'd go sleep in my Eclipse. And at some point I met this girl, and her family felt really bad for me, and they took me in, and they were like, you can stay here with us. We'll get you back on your feet. And they found this job where I would essentially stay in hotels across the country, and we would do like the flooring and the roofs for Home Depots and Best Buys. So we'd be out in like San Fernando for like 6 months at a time, putting down the floor for a Home Depot, right? And so I'd have a place. They give me a per diem, and I would just stay there while I saved money and got back on my feet. And eventually that led me to get my first apartment. I was 17 years old, and signed my first lease. And I was a ward of the state. My mom had my parents had somehow, I don't know how this came to be a thing, but I was emancipated.
What does that mean?
So being emancipated is essentially you have no legal guardian. Your parents have basically divorced you, right? They didn't want to be responsible for...
Damn.
Yeah, so they didn't want to be responsible for whatever mischief I was getting into. And I really wasn't doing anything, man. I mean, I'd go to a party here and there and have a drink or two once in a while, but I wasn't like partaking in drugs or like being a thief or burglarizing or doing anything. I wasn't vandalizing. I wasn't...
Why do you think your parents did that?
I don't know. I really don't know. And it was something that...
And till like today, you have still not talked to them?
I have no idea. So
Damn,
my mother passed
bro.
in 2020, and it was always something, towards the end of her life, we did reconnect, and these were questions that I asked. And I said, where did this become like how did this get so rocky? And why was I emancipated? And why did you decide that like you wanted to divorce me and not have me as your child? And it was never like she wasn't my mom. Like, I would call her and we'd have conversations, but it was like there was just this legal thing that I never understood the details to. And there were benefits to that. Like, for example, when I went to school, when you're emancipated or a ward of the state, then there's all these like government programs that'll pay for your schooling as so long as you carry a certain grade average, right? So there's benefits like that. But that's how I found out. I remember going to my mom and being like, hey, I need you to fill out this paperwork for the FAFSA, right? To get a grant for school so we could determine the income and how much the grant's going to be. And she was like, I don't need to fill that out. And I was like, what do you mean you don't need to fill this out? Like, the counselor said you need to fill this out. And she was just like, no, I'm legally not your guardian. Like, you're a ward of the state. And I was like, I don't know what that means. So that's how it was delivered to me. And it was,
How old were you then when you got that news?
I think I graduated high school early. So I think I was,
17.
no, earlier than that. I think
Damn.
I graduated high school when I don't think I was even licensed yet. I think I was just turned 16. I started school very early. I like tested into school early and started early. But when I had graduated, that's when I got my driver's license. So I don't think I was, wasn't that old.
Damn.
Yeah.
How did you graduate at 16? I've never heard of that.
My birthday is like right at the beginning of the school year, and if you like test in when I was a kid, I tested in and went to like these Montessori schools, and like I was just able to start school earlier than some. So I was always the youngest in my grade.
I was young too, but I was 17 when I graduated. We graduated May or June, and then in August I turned 18. So I was like younger for the grade, but I was not 16.
Yeah, I think when I graduated, I was 16 years old.
Yeah. Did you play sports?
I did for my first year, freshman year. I did a little bit of football. I don't even think I played the whole year.
I think that's one of the downsides of being like younger, and that's something that I will definitely take into consideration when I have kids. Is if they're going to play sports, competitive sports, there's a big difference if you hold back a year versus going in a year
100%,
early. I mean, the difference between 14 and 15, 15 and 16, 16 and 17, that's a huge difference in someone's body. And I noticed that because when I played baseball and basketball growing up, and Little League Baseball, I was always one of the older ones. And so I went from like dominating, always an all-star team every single year, like best person on my team, and then you get to the next level, and then now all of a sudden I'm a year younger than everyone, and there's a big difference.
Dude, I remember being in high school and like
Yeah.
the kids that were sophomores had mustaches and were like 240 pounds, and I'm this little green bean running around like skin and bones, So definitely saw that and felt that for sure.
So now you're out here in San Diego, and you've been in the real estate game for quite some time now. Give me a snapshot of what you're doing today in the real estate space.
Yeah, so I guess like big jump from where I was in a car and getting my own apartment, and then now managing real estate teams across the country and owning a brokerage here in San Diego. But yeah, it all happened very organically, really organically. The first step was, I guess, sustaining my lifestyle and having a way to pay for my rent as a 17-year-old kid, right? So I started working at Applebee's and all these restaurants, and I just was always in like the restaurant and hospitality industry. And
love some good Applebee's, by the way.
Yeah, man.
In college, I used to go there. They have like the dollar beers, I believe it was.
Yep.
You get like the talls, the 20 ounces for like, I don't know what it was, but Coors Light, Bud Light. We go there all the time, and then they got the all those like little like samplers. So good.
Yeah. That was I think that was my first restaurant gig was Applebee's out in Addison, Illinois. But in any case, I was doing that to pay for my apartment that I had. And I think rent at the time was like $650 or something like that, for the suburbs of Chicago. And I was doing that and meeting all these other restaurant industry people and just growing my network and meeting people through that. Eventually that brought me to the city, Chicago, and I started working in restaurants and bars and designing menus for some of these restaurants out there. And long story short, I bumped into a family member that I hadn't seen in a very, very long time. And I was just catching up with him at lunch and was going through a breakup. And I was living in an apartment in the city with a girl. And as a bartender, I had, pockets full of cash, but my bank accounts were dry, right? We have our tips, we have what we make, we go out for the night, we go to the bank when we need to make a deposit and pay our rent, and that's about it. We live with the cash in our pockets. So I remember going through this breakup with this girl, and she was like, hey, all my furniture is in our apartment. Like, I'll leave, but what am I going to do with all this furniture? Like, you got to buy this from me. I'm not going to just like move it. And so I'm talking to my cousin, and I'm just like, well, how do I get her this money? Like, I've got this money in my pocket, but I really don't want to see her. Like, how do I get her this money? And so he hands me his phone, and he's like, just give me the cash, use my phone, and send her it wasn't Zelle at the time. It was Quick Pay or whatever, Chase Quick Pay. And so I opened his account, and I'm just like, dude, where do you have all this money from? What are you doing? And he's like, I'm in real estate. And I was like, I don't know what that means, but I'm quitting what I'm doing now and I'm working for you. And so that very instant, he signed me up for real estate classes back in 2008 during the crash. Right. And I just never looked back, man. And from there, it just kind of became, this like ever like quick fire that grew within the restaurant industry that I was working in. The internet was like this new thing where you can go on Zillow and see a house for sale, right? Like it was completely new where a buyer can just say, hey, I want to look in this zip code and find houses. And I remember I got pitched while I was at the restaurant. Someone just cold called me and was like, do you want to buy a zip code on Zillow? And I was like, I don't know what that means. Well, sure. What is this? And they were like, it's $250 and you can have this entire zip code in Chicago. Anyone that wants to buy a house will be put in touch with you, and then that'll be your buyer. It's like, okay, $250 is a lot of money for me at this time, but I'll take the risk. So this was again like 2008, 2009. And I'm sitting in this bar or restaurant and my phone is going off, like new buyer. And I'm like, what is going on? And I'm at this point now where I'm like serving sushi and making drinks, and I've got to go show that house to this guy, be at this inspection, go list that guy's house. And I can't be in all these places at once. And so I just had to organically just be like, hey, you, dude, go get your real estate license. Like, I need your help. You go get your real estate license. I need your help. So I started just recruiting all these hospitality people, and it became like a real estate team where it wasn't like a predatory thing like I see so much of. Someone called me today actually and was, talking about joining Black Label, and
which is your firm, or your team?
Black Label is the office I own here in San Diego.
And which brokerage do you work under?
That is my brokerage.
That's your brokerage.
Yeah, so
okay.
Black Label is the brokerage. So I was with Keller Williams before that. I was with Berkshire Hathaway and all these other brokerages. And, at some point I was just like, these people are taking such a big cut for what? Like, it used to be a thing where people would call Century 21 or Berkshire Hathaway and say, hey, I need to list my house. Put me in touch with your top agent, right? Or they'd walk into the door and they'd meet a real estate agent there and they'd say, come sell my house. I need a consultation with you. That's not the thing anymore. Again, the internet, people are now their own brand, right? Like you know me and you know Black Label because you know me, but most people hire an agent because they have a relationship with that person, not because of who's backing them, right? So I just kind of picked up on that and was like, we need to start our own thing to where it's not this predatory, like huge split on these agents who are door knocking and hustling and breaking their backs to get these deals done. And then they're getting 50% of the transaction taken away from them by the brokerage or the team lead. And it's just like, how is that a sustainable thing? How are these agents going to stick around for that? Especially in a market now where we see the amount of transactions that agents are doing are like dwindling down.
Yeah, there's not enough for everyone to
There's
eat.
not. And it's scary for a lot of these agents. And now you're telling me that you're going to have to pay 40 or 50% to your brokerage.
So what year was this when you got your broker's license?
I got my broker's license in 2009 in Chicago. I got licensed here about 5 years ago.
In San Diego?
In San Diego.
How long have you been in San Diego now?
Not that long, dude. We came out, I've been working here and transitioning and selling real estate here for about 4 years. I officially planted roots and bought my house here in 2022. So not that long. Before that, I was just flying out, meeting clients, building the business, and trying to put some roots down.
Yeah.
So it's
So when did you open the
Black
brokerage?
Label?
Yeah.
January.
This year.
This year.
This is all new. Okay.
This is all brand new, and it has been again like a wildfire, man. And I think a lot of it I contribute to, honestly, to you, to your networking events, to meeting people, to the platform that I've had with you. A lot of people just know me through you. The network of friends that we have, a lot of the people that we involve ourselves with are all, in the real estate world. So,
and Austin came over and worked. He works with you, right?
Austin is awesome. He's the guy's been flipping houses like crazy.
Yeah. Shout out to Austin.
Austin Cole, yeah, great dude. He's and just having him there, has brought more agents to the office. But it's been awesome. And just coming from that background of me getting all this business when it was new and needing the support and the help and wanting to see other people succeed and get out of the hospitality industry. That was always my mindset. It wasn't like, hey, I can hire these agents and make money off of them. It wasn't like a predatory thing like that guy that I said called me earlier that wanted to come to Black Label, and he was like, my current split is 60-40. And I'm like, what are they giving you for they're taking 40%? And where's the value? What are they giving you for that? Nothing. The guy doesn't get leads, doesn't get support. There's this whole like NAR settlement. Are you aware of what just happened?
Yeah.
Which is insane. And no one has any training. He doesn't know what he's doing. And people need to be walked through this. people, you go through the real estate classes. You don't have a real estate license, do you?
I do not.
Yeah. So in most businesses and most models, if you're going to be in sales, you know the product, right? If you're going to sell cell phones, you know what the cell phone's battery life is. You know,
That was my first sales job was selling cell phones
Was it?
out of a kiosk at the mall,
I
North
did the
County
same
Mall.
thing.
Yeah.
I did the same
Did
thing,
you?
man. We
Nice.
did Prime Code. Do you remember Prime Code?
No, what's that?
Yeah, it was like a little alien was the brand. It was
Okay.
like a lower whatever. It
That was the brand.
That was the
That
brand.
was the
Prime Code.
carrier?
That was the carrier. Prime Code.
Interesting. I was doing this is 2003, 2004, 2005. Singular wireless. but
Singular,
we were an authorized dealer though.
And then that became
We were not
AT&T, I think, right?
we were not direct. AT&T bought out Singular
Yep.
probably in like 2008.
I remember that. I think Singular was
Yeah.
like an orange logo or something.
It was orange logo.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I remember that.
Yeah, the Razor phone was very popular back when I was slinging phones.
Yeah.
The flip phone. Yeah, that was the new. That
We
was
used
the
to
new
take
thing.
them apart.
Hey dog, we got this flip phone right here.
Yep.
The
And you
Razor.
put the light up battery and the light
Yeah.
up antennas on them.
Motorola Razor.
Yep.
Yeah.
But anyways, so when you sold cell phones, you knew the product. Someone would come in and they say, hey, I've got like 2 kids. I need a family plan. I need this many minutes or whatever. I need this data plan. And you need to know the product so you can sell it appropriately, right? And you can listen to what they need and you place them with the product that they want. With real estate, you go and take your real estate exam, and all you've learned is a compressed version of the bar exam, the real estate portion of the bar exam for real estate. You get a compressed test, you take that, and then you're spit out into the system, and you don't know where to start. They don't teach you how to use the MLS, how to search for a home. They don't teach you what the difference between LVP is or granite or quartz or anything. You know, you're literally walking into a house and you have to demonstrate your value and your worth to a client, and no one's taught you what's behind the drywall.
Hey guys, real quick, the only way this show grows, the only way we continue to bring on bigger and better guests is if you guys rate, review, and share the show. So if you could take 2 seconds or the click of the thumb to review on Apple or Spotify, it will mean the world to me. But more importantly, we'll be able to reach more entrepreneurs and more real estate investors and help them build wealth through this podcast. Now back to the show. It shocks me how few real estate agents out there in the marketplace, they don't know much about real estate. And a lot of them, I think it's because they don't own the real estate. But I'm always, I talk about this all the time. I was talking with Carlton Dennis on that podcast recently, but as a full-time realtor, you qualify for professional real estate status under the tax code. And so if you go to buy a piece of real estate, it could be a long-term rental, whatever it is, you can get a cost seg study and use the depreciation to offset your income as a realtor, your commissions.
Yeah, I caught like a little piece of that.
Yeah.
I didn't watch the whole.
And
whole video,
so, yeah, it's like Dan Blackwell was just on the podcast. He buys a new piece of real estate every year.
Okay.
And he's doing big monies in commissions every single year. So he gets a cost seg study, uses that bonus depreciation to offset not just the income that these properties spit off, but also the taxes that he has to pay in these commissions. And then he takes those savings and puts it down in more real estate. And the real estate just keeps buying in more real estate.
And that's how you set yourself up for success.
Yeah.
Right. A lot of these real estate agents, like, they get blinded by the commissions, and that's all that they see is like, it's wash, rinse, repeat. It's new buyer, inspection, closing. God, I need another one. I need another commission check. And they don't ever take themselves out of the transactional part of it and make themselves the buyer. You know, we have such a unique advantage here to where we usually see these houses first. We're the first boots on the ground where we can make the offers on these properties ourselves, right? And a lot of these real estate agents just don't have that investor's mindset.
No. But I mean, I think a lot of it is these brokers are not educating the agents.
You're right.
And then also, I think the other part of it is the agents need to take it upon themselves to self-educate, right? So like everything that I've learned to date is because I took the initiative and I said, okay, I want to go learn how to do this. And then I want to learn how this works. And it's like asking questions and getting around people that are doing it, right? They don't teach this stuff in college.
No.
Or high school, you know?
Yeah.
So anyway, so you get this brokerage now, and how many people you have under you now?
Right now in San Diego, we're at about almost at 20. Goals to be at about 40 by the end of the year.
And how many, when you started in January, how many did you bring over?
4.
4. And now you're at 20.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's moving pretty quick, I think.
And what does an agent make under you?
An agent, well, it depends. So I have the team. So I operate a team as well, the Quesada Group, which is a team of agents that's in Miami, Tampa, Chicago, and San Diego, right? So I oversee groups of agents and handle like their leads and all that stuff. But but their splits are pretty healthy. An agent at my office is usually in the ballpark. If you're a solo agent, you're probably in the ballpark of about a 15% split. We're not a not-for-profit. We've got to make money. We've got to
they
exist.
keep 85.
They keep 85.
That's really good.
Yeah, and then there are leads that go out. If you're on the team, then you have more opportunities that are handed to you. The split is usually around 25%. But the difference, I think, the main...
Is Austin on your team?
Austin's a solo agent.
Solo agent.
Yeah, so Austin's doing his own thing. Austin's not so much interested in the transactional, working with buyers and sellers. He's more interested in finding these off-market properties, flipping them, and then, going that route.
He's just listing his own stuff.
He's listing his own stuff. People bring him off-market properties, and then he'll renovate them, and sometimes he'll even throw it back to them, right? So those people will then get two parts of the deal, right? If I come to you and you say, Mark, I want you to sell my house, and your house needs to be completely renovated, I can 100% just go put it on the market. Or if I'm not going to buy it myself, I can put it on the market for a buyer to take that, right? They'll purchase it off of me. But as a smarter agent, I can then go to someone like Austin, and I can say, hey, Austin, I've got this property that needs to be renovated. If I sell it to you, now I have a sale to Austin, right? Austin will now renovate it. And when it's ready to be sold, now he goes back to that agent and says, hey, we're done with the renovations. Now you can sell it. So you just got two deals instead of one as that agent. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does make sense.
Yeah. So he's got a really good business model.
Yeah. No, I like it. And so as we've been in a high rate environment, right? And so we're in election year. How has the rate environment affected your industry?
Oh man, it is weird. It is really weird because we just had a little bit of a dip, and the market hasn't moved.
A dip in what?
In rates. Rates went down just a little bit, and they're saying that they're going to come down September 17th or something. We'll see if that ever
the next
actually
Fed
happens.
meeting. Yeah,
right. But I mean, the market here in San Diego. I was talking to an agent yesterday who just kind of works with us a lot. A lot of my agents will host her open houses. And I think she said she took like 5 or 6 of her listings and they all took price drops.
Really?
Yeah. It's, I don't know if it's just like because of it's an election year, because of the turmoil with like impending doom from war. I don't know what it is, but a lot of people are pumping the brakes. I think they want to see where the dust is going to settle. It's a weird time.
Sellers are pumping the brakes?
No, I think
buyers.
Yeah. So listings that, I mean, you remember COVID, people were giving up their firstborn child and waiving their inspections and their appraisals and hundreds of thousands of dollars over list price, no questions asked, close in a week, take whatever you want. And now I'm getting offers that are $50,000 under list price. I've got agents that work for me that are regularly sending out offers for their own acquisitions that are 70% of list, which you couldn't even, that's not even a conversation that would even thought about a couple years ago.
Yeah, and now you're bringing those offers to the sellers.
Right.
Yeah. And rightfully so, though. I think right now we're in an environment where there's a lot less buyer competition. And so, yeah, I feel like if you are going to go buy right now, you got to make sure you're buying at a discount.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you been aggressively making offers on anything? I know you're investing in the hotel world and stuff like that.
We've bought 2 deals since the beginning of the year, 2 hotels. And we're taking a slight pause right now, just kind of stabilizing what we have. We have a lot of deals that are going to be refinancing next year. So really just focusing on stabilizing those deals, really, really like priming those assets for these refis. So like working with a lot of the reviews, driving from 5-star reviews. The revenue management is huge, and then really leaning out those expenses. Their operations, because that's half the battle is the management, right, in the day-to-day. And so I think for us to go buy another deal right now would be counterproductive. That said, I would say towards the end of the year, I want to gear up and I would like to do one more deal between now and the end of the year. But my whole sentiment since the rates have been high is 2 things. One, I need to be able to buy at a discount, and 2, I need to be able to add tremendous value. And 3, I always want to buy in a good location. So I know if you can do that, we can add a lot of value. That gives you a little cushion, margin for error should the market continue to soften. Because I feel like, for the last 2 years, I always felt like, hey, it's going to continue to soften before it improves. Now, with this next Fed meeting in September, a lot of talks of, a rate cut coming. I think there will be a rate cut. If we see 25 or 50 basis points, we'll see. I don't think we'll see 50, but I think we'll see a 25. And so I think there's going to be a lot more confidence that enters the marketplace. And we'll see. Things will start to turn around. But I think right now, I said it for a while. The fact that we've been in this high rate environment for about 30 months now, and if you look at most markets around the country, housing prices have been relatively untouched. We might see 10% decreases in some markets, maybe 12%, but for the most part, housing prices have been relatively untouched. And so I think that's a true testament of how strong the supply demand fundamentals really are
100%. Yeah,
around housing across America.
for sure.
Baby boomers are living longer. They're not selling their homes and moving into retirement homes as early as they once were.
Mm-hmm.
And then millennials are starting families for the first time. They're buying their first homes. And then the Gen Zers behind them are moving out of their parents' house for the first time. They're looking for apartments to rent, etc. On the supply side, there was a pullback in new housing during COVID. There's also been a pullback in new housing starts over the last year and a half, 2 years, because of the high rate environment. And so, and I don't blame those builders, right? There's been a lot of bad news in the marketplace. Rates have more than doubled, so the cost to build, imposes more risk and more barriers to entry. And so I don't blame those builders to slow down a little bit. But that said, if you read articles out there online, most articles will say we're anywhere from 4 to 5 million housing units short of where the demand is. This is across the nation. But this is not to account for the 25, 30 million dilapidated homes in America that are not livable. They're not rentable. You can't even get bank loans on these properties. And so if you take those into consideration, we're like 30 million housing units short of where the demand is. That's going to take a long time and a lot of building to come to some sort of equilibrium, because people forget, the cycle to build and pull permits and
Especially
do all
here.
that. Yes, especially in areas like California, areas with a lot of bureaucracy and red tape. It just doesn't happen overnight, right? It takes years and years. And so I believe, and I'm speculating, I'm always one to be wrong here, but I believe if we ever do see 3% rates again, we're going to see a lot of appreciation. We're going to see a lot of inflation. We're going to see a lot of rent growth. Don't forget, the Federal Reserve has printed 80% of the money supply since 2020. A lot of that money is off the table right now in long-term government bonds, et cetera, because of the high rate environment. But if that money re-enters and we see low rates again, I'm pretty bullish on everything. All that money has to go somewhere. You can't just double the money supply and not see rent growth and asset appreciation, all that sort of thing. It has to flow somewhere. Does that make sense?
Then what do we do with the affordability problem? I mean, if we see rates drop to threes or, God forbid, twos again, right? Now we have this huge bubble of people that are selling their houses because now they can actually do the upgrade that they can't do now, right? Nobody wants to lose their house at 3% to go buy something right now at 6 or 7%. So now we have these people that are maybe willing to sell. So maybe we get a little pop of some inventory, right? But then what happens to pricing? It jumps through the roof, and we're already in such a scary place right now where first-time home buyers, they barely have enough money for their down payment. The payment alone is through the roof. And now, I hate to bring it up again, but with this NAR settlement, there's talk about paying your own agent, which I don't think is going to happen often. But it's scary to think, if rates go up and rates go down and prices go up, who can afford that? Especially in markets like Southern California.
Yeah. I think the long-term solution is the bureaucracy and the red tape around building. I think it needs to ease up a little bit.
Sure.
I think
the permitting process, you mean?
Yeah, the barriers to entry to build, especially in California, is so extensive. Now, the ADU play is one of the things that they've implemented, and I think that does ease up a little bit. But I mean, I'm doing a couple of ADUs right now. These things are not like overnight permits. I am, yeah. So I just got permits approved for a property in Linda Vista for a garage conversion ADU. It's gonna be a 1-bedroom, 1-bath, and then doing another deal here in Lida, Italy. We're going to build a 2-story with a 3rd-story rooftop deck ADU here at a single-family property.
Oh, cool.
But that said, that needs to happen. Otherwise, affordability is never going to go anywhere. It's going to continue to become more and more unaffordable.
Yeah, because the rate of pay is not increasing at the same rate of the appreciation of properties.
No, it's not.
At all.
Not even close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you're in markets like in Chicago, it's weird to see, because having the markets and the teams in the different parts of the country and seeing how things change and how much they appreciate, and cap rates, how they're so different across the country, right? To find something here that's going to appreciate as fast as most Southern California properties appreciate at, and to have a favorable cap rate, I mean, that's a unicorn, right? Unless you're finding something that has a big value add and you're putting ADUs in the back, then it makes sense, right? But if you're in markets in Chicago, right, you can go buy a 4 or a 3 unit building, let's say, right? A 3 unit building is probably going to run you around $700,000, right? You might have a small cap rate, probably better than you're going to get here, but the property is appreciating at such a slow pace. You know, those things almost never coexist together. So it's I deal with a lot of investors that I meet here that are looking for that cap rate more than the appreciation, and they would rather be outside of the California market.
See, I'm the opposite. I started investing like in these high cap rate markets because I was working a full-time W-2 as an air traffic controller, and I thought, oh, I want cash flow, I want like the financial freedom. And there is something to be said about that, but you know, what's a cap rate? Cap rate is a market's opinion of risk-adjusted return. And so, you know, going to these like more like rural areas, Midwest markets with a higher cap rate, yeah, you get a little more cash flow. But cash flow, yeah, pays the bills. But
Sure.
how you build true wealth in real estate is the appreciation.
100%.
And so if you think about the high growth markets and going into some of these areas like San Diego, Santa Barbara, Scottsdale, the amount of appreciation that you see here trumps the cash flow like by 100x.
But when do you
And
actually
so-
touch that appreciation? When you sell, or when you refi out, or
Refinance.
when does that money become yours?
So you can refi, right? And these cash out refinances are not taxed; it's tax deferred, but you don't pay taxes on cash out refi money. You can take those proceeds, you can roll that into more real estate. You can take those proceeds and you can go buy a car if you wanted to. You can do whatever you want. But the point is like, you know, I'll give you this example. So like, let's just say a property in the Midwest, cash flows, let's just say it's $1 million property and it does a 10% cash on cash return. So let's just say it cash flows 10%. Let's just say $10,000 a year. So $1,000 a month, $12,000 a year. Now that same property in the Midwest, right? Let's say just over time, it goes up 50% in value over 20 years. Not a lot of appreciation, right? But you could buy that $1 million property out here in San Diego where values double every 10 to 12 years, right? So in 20 years, this property went from 1 million to 2 million to 4, right? So now you just took a $1 million property to 4 million in that same 20-year span. That's $3 million of appreciation. How many years of $12,000 a year in cash flow in Cincinnati would it have took to equate to that 3 million?
Right.
Forever.
For sure.
You'd be dead by then.
But you've got to be able to tolerate the lack of monthly income, right? You've got to be able to sometimes even take a hit on the monthly income, knowing that you're appreciating at such a rapid pace.
Totally. And I think that's why like a lot of folks come in here. You'll see people come in here and say, I don't care if I'm negative cash flow for the first few years, because they know, hey, if I'm buying a deal on, you know, fixed debt, right? So essentially your expenses are somewhat fixed. Insurance costs are always going to go up over time. Property taxes might go up a little bit, but here's the thing. Rent growth, right, goes up. Appreciation happens, and you know that deal that was negative cash flow in 3, 4, 5 years won't.
Right.
In 10 years,
as long as you can hang on to it.
Yeah.
Have we seen, I mean, has there been a time where we've seen rent go down?
If you study rents in America since like the 1940s, they just keep going up.
Right.
They never go down.
Right. It's a pretty stable, and
yeah,
it's a decent thing to invest in. Right?
They might plateau for like a couple years and go flat.
Sure.
But you know,
even in the housing crash, I mean, what happened to those people that lost their houses?
Everyone
they
goes
all
to
had to rent.
Yeah. It's crazy to think about.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, man. I think we're becoming more and more of a renter nation.
We are.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's something that actually I just did, right? I just sold my house here.
Dude, I love renting.
It's it took a minute to get used to. You know, I'm so used to wanting to like modify my house, right? I mean, we ripped open the drywall and I ran new wires everywhere, and I wanted switches here and I wanted outlets there, and you don't typically do this in a rental property, but you know, I'm used to owning. But you know, we came across a really good situation and a really good offer on our house, and it was kind of out of left field, and it just kind of had to take it when it came. And we didn't know where we wanted to go. So we figured, let's just kind of not put permanent roots down and not have to worry about maintenance. And when an opportunity presents itself, we have the freedom and the ability to do it whenever we want. And I think that's kind of the same reason why you do it, right? It just affords you the flexibility and the freedom to move around and do what you want when you want.
Yeah. I mean, it's two reasons. One, what you just alluded to. I love the freedom of it. It's like when I get bored, I can just here's the keys, and I'll move somewhere else. And then no repair maintenance. I don't need to worry about repairs. It's easy. So the upkeep perspective is a lot easier. But the main reason is the cost. Like I did a breakdown video like a couple months ago on my Instagram, and it basically broke down like, is it better to rent or own where you live? And especially here in San Diego, I would say most markets in the country right now, it is substantially cheaper to rent in today's climate, especially with the interest rate environment.
But that doesn't mean don't own real estate.
Doesn't mean don't own real
Does
estate.
not mean
No.
that, right?
And honestly, when you own like your primary residence,
Uh-huh.
the tax benefits are very minimal.
Uh-huh.
But if it's it's a rental, the tax benefits are like 10x, right? You can get cost seg studies, bonus depreciation, utilize all this sort of stuff. It's a primary residence. I believe the only tax write-off is like the first $10,000 of interest payments in your mortgage and your debt service.
And then if you add like solar panels and things like that, right?
Mm-hmm. And so I did a breakdown on my Instagram of like where I live. You've been in my unit. So like it was, I think the savings was like, it would have been like a difference of, I put $500 down to rent my place as a deposit. I got 1 month free and I pay $12,300 a month. If I was to buy this place, if it was a condo, I think it's like a $3 million, it'd probably be a $3 million condo, right?
Your payment on that would be what? $27,000 a month?
Let's just say you put 10% down. It'd be like $300,000 down plus closing costs, another 20, 30 grand.
Yep.
And then the payment on that thing with the PITI with the rates, the way they were 2 months ago, I did the math. It was like $21,000 a month. So I saved $320,000 down, and I'm saving about $8,000 a month to rent.
And that $300,000 that you saved can be utilized to acquire 1-2 other properties that are going to appreciate.
Yes, and provide you real tax benefits.
Exactly.
Whereas this wouldn't have. But also there's an opportunity cost. Like people will forget, like, when you buy real estate, it doesn't always go up in value, right? And so one of the worst pieces of real estate you could own is high-rise condos. One, because you don't own the land. The value of real estate is you got to own the land. And so when you buy a high-rise condo, you own a small piece of a land with 400 other owners. And so, and then the HOAs, they only go up over time. They never
only go up. And then if there's deferred maintenance, now you have special assessments. We're seeing all these problems now with insurance, right? Where HOAs were, $900 a month, and now all of a sudden they just shot up to $1,700 a month. And people can't afford that. Now you want to sell. Nobody wants to buy that. So, I mean, the rate of appreciation in the condo market is complete different ballgame.
Doesn't even make sense. And then, and there's cranes everywhere.
Yeah.
If you look off of my balcony here in downtown San Diego, I can spot like 6 or 7 cranes.
But they're building rentals.
They are building a lot of rentals, but over the last 7 years I've lived in this neighborhood, I've seen a lot of high-rise condos go up as well. And, when there's cranes in the air, beware. It's a true thing, right? And, it just adds supply. All these parking lots are going to be developed into high rises, right? At some point, if you come here in 15 years, all these parking lots are no longer going to be here. I guarantee that. And so it's just going to continue to add more supply to the housing here. But as these HOAs go up, less and less people are willing to buy our place. And like you said, a single family property here in San Diego, let's just say, for example, over the last 5 years, it has gone up by 60%, right? The same high-rise condo here in San Diego has gone up by maybe 10 or 12%. So think about that. Also, there's no guarantee that these condos are going to go up in value. They could also go down in value. So in that example that I used where I saved about $320,000 down and $8,000 a month in rent or payment, that does not include the when I go to resell this property, I got to pay 6% agent fee, maybe 5% agent fee. That costs money.
We'll take care of it.
And so if this thing did not go up at least 5% in value, I'm taking it back.
Yeah, you're taking it. Exactly.
And some of these condos over the last 2-3 years with the high rate environment have actually gone down 15, 20%.
And that doesn't take into account like any of the modifications you had to make in the house. Did you replace any cabinets or appliances? Right.
All that stuff.
Yeah.
And so the whole idea that you should always own where you live is one of the biggest myths in America. And also, I think buying a high-rise condo is the worst real estate investment that you could possibly invest
in certain markets. I agree. Yeah, there's definitely markets where that's
buying a high-rise makes sense. Ooh.
I mean, there's certain markets where there's all that is, right? I mean, if you're going to move to Manhattan, what are you going to do, right?
Okay.
So there's certain markets where that's just
that.
what people buy. There aren't houses unless you're spending tens of millions of dollars, right?
Yeah.
But
that's true.
Like in Chicago, for example, I had a client, very close friend who who purchased her condo, awesome location downtown. and she paid, I think, like $210,000 for it about 8 years ago. And we sold it during COVID for literally the exact same dollar amount that she purchased it for. It had not appreciated at all,
I believe it.
And I think she got into it FHA with 3.5% down, so it wasn't a terrible amount of money. But at that point, I mean, there wasn't a lot of maintenance, so I guess maybe she broke even, right? And she lived in a place, and over that amount of time, she recouped her money in the sale. But yeah, there was no appreciation there.
Yeah,
it's scary.
Yeah, it's probably the worst real estate investment you could make is buying a high-rise condo, generally speaking. Being in the San Diego market, like for you right now, where are you seeing the opportunity for like some of these buyers?
A lot of these buyers are doing kind of what you're doing. They're looking for the ADU play, right? So when you can find a single-family home that has alley access, right? And now you have the privacy of building a 2-unit behind your house, and you're supplementing your payments, right? And now your property is significantly worth a lot more than you purchased it for, right? You've got to find these value adds, or you've got to find these properties that just, there's a lot of people that bought these houses back in like 1950s, 1960s, and their houses are completely untouched, right? And you could just go in there with a light renovation and put some sweat equity into it, and your property has just increased. It's a huge increase in property value just by doing some light renovations, right? But I think if you have the energy and you're young enough to get into a property and you're not scared of getting your hands dirty, and you can do some sweat equity and do some light modifications and renovations to your home, that's where it's at. People that are getting these flipped turnkey houses are, I mean, you're still buying a house and you're still a good investment. But when you can do that yourself and not pay for somebody else to have done that, I think you're going to be in a much better situation. Don't you agree?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on like your time. So I always say like, if you're a business owner or self-employed or you're high income earning W-2 even, and you're making a lot of money, then like continue doing that. And then hire a team to go and do the renovations for you and that sort of thing, because there's always an opportunity cost, right? Always an opportunity cost. So I would say most of the investors that invest in our fund, they know they should be investing in real estate, but they're like, they know that they don't have the time. And they're like, hey, like, you guys do this for us.
Well, sure.
Yeah,
whether you have a team or whatever,
yeah.
You shouldn't pay for somebody else to do that for you. You shouldn't go buy a flipped house, right? If you can find a property that needs the work.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Do it yourself.
Yeah,
Hire your team, have your GC do it. You know what I mean? Do it the way you want. Chances are you're going to buy a flipped house that was flipped the way that the flipper wanted to do it, which was quick and easy. And now you're going to have to say, well, I'm going to change all these things anyways.
I would say, yeah, I mean, that's how I bought all my real estate, is like buying at a discount, add value. I can pull money out. It gives you options. Now, the one caveat to that would be, for some people, they're just making so much money. They're just so busy. Like, they're just like, okay, give me a turnkey thing. I don't want to worry about it. And I'm going to just park my money for the next 10, 20 years in good locations. They're still going to do really good, right? So I get that.
I feel like that's not usually a first-time home buyer, right? That's usually somebody they're looking at their next house or their third house, right? Then they're ready to do that sometimes.
That's true. Where do you see the rate environment navigating over the next 12 months?
Oh, that's a tough one, man. I mean, I'd be completely speculating with the rate environment, but I mean, if we were told last year that they were going to come down a few times and they never did, right? So I think if the rates do come down like they're supposed to in September, then I think the only thing that's going to happen is the prices are going to go up. We're going to see more demand from people, and we're going to see a huge inflation of pricing.
Yeah.
Right?
I think it's really going to happen this time, and so we'll see.
What makes you so confident?
Because the Fed's coming out now and saying it's going to happen. We're also in election year; it's nearing. So I think the market is really penciling in a 1/4 basis point cut this September. If it doesn't happen, I think there's going to. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. But unemployment, interest rate. Inflation's down. And it's time. I think it's time the Fed's coming out and saying that. So I think we're going to see it. So we'll see. But it's interesting. Like the whole time the rate environment has been this high, the theme has been survive to 25. And I'm like, holy fuck! Like it's almost 2025 now, and
came fast.
I know we survived on our end. And I know a lot of folks that have survived as well. So we'll see if this is the worst of it, and we're going to be looking up from here.
Yeah,
I'm excited.
But do we? Like, as an investor, do you take advantage of the market now before those rates drop, right? Do you get in now and then refi once they've dropped?
100%.
Right? Because right now is the time to get the deals. The second you've got competition as a buyer, you're not getting discounts on purchase price. You're not getting rate buy downs. You're not getting concessions.
100%. And we've put our money where our mouth is. We've been buying this whole time, but we've been very strict and selective on what we've bought. Right. So you got to buy a good location, buy the discount, add value for us.
Exactly.
That's for our model.
Right.
Anyways, Mark, I appreciate you coming on the show, my man. You're a homie, a dog, and always good vibes, dude.
Love it, brother.
Where can the folks get in touch with you?
blacklabelrealty.com. That's our website. If you're looking to join or have some questions, join.blacklabelrealty.com.
And not just in San Diego, but you are in Chicago,
correct.
Tampa, Miami.
We're all over the place.
International, bro.
Yeah. So if you're looking to grow, need some mentorship, have questions, or just want to chat, I'm here.
There it is. He's Mark Quesada, always looking fresh to death. I'm Rich Summers. Listeners, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.